Have you ever really thought about where slang comes from? You know, the words people use on the street? Well, today, we're going to trace the roots of some words you hear in Toronto all the way back to the global ambitions of a tiny Caribbean island. It's a pretty wild story about how culture travels and, honestly, changes everything it touches.
So, let's kick things off in Toronto, a city that has a sound that's just as diverse as its people. The English spoken here, it's got this unique fingerprint, all woven together from languages from every corner of the globe. It really tells the story of the city itself. For example, you might hear someone call another person miskeen. Now this word, it comes from Arabic and Somali, and it can mean someone is kind of pathetic or down on their luck. But, it can also be used in a softer way to describe someone who's just a little bit innocent or naive. Then you've got the word bare. If somebody says there were bare people at the concert, they just mean it was absolutely packed. This one comes straight from Jamaican Patois, and trust me, that's a connection we're going to be coming back to.
And you will definitely hear sentences ending with a lie. It's this super versatile tag that's kind of like saying right or looking for someone to agree with you. And yep, just like bear, it's straight out of Jamaican Patois.
Okay, so you've got these words from Somalia, from Arabic, from Jamaican Patois, all swirling around together. So what's the common thread here? What links them all? The answer is the city itself, Toronto. This is literally what language sounds like when you're in a place where, get this, according to the census, 55.7% of the population are visible minorities. I mean, that's more than half the city. It's a true linguistic melting pot. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even with all those diverse influences, research shows that one culture, more than any other, has really shaped the sound of Toronto. So linguists have actually dug into this, and what they've found is that the number one single biggest influence on what they call multicultural Toronto English is Jamaican Patois. You could almost say it's like the main source code for how the city talks. And look, this connection wasn't built overnight. It's got decades of history behind it. You can see on this timeline, you had these waves of immigration, like the Caribbean domestic scheme back in the 50s, and then a new point system in the 60s. These brought a large, vibrant Jamaican community right into the city. And of course, their language came with them.
And this influence, it runs deep. Just think about some of the most common Toronto slang, calling a good friend your brethren, greeting someone with wagwan, or calling someone a waistute. These aren't just words they borrowed. They are woven into the very fabric of daily conversation for so many people in Toronto, and every single one of them comes directly from Jamaican Patois.
So it's pretty clear that the Jamaican language has this incredible power to travel and become part of totally new places. And that kind of begs the question, right? What else is making that journey? It really makes you wonder, is this powerful cultural export thing just about words and slang? Well, as we're about to see, the answer to that is a big, resounding no. All right, let's switch gears from language to, food. Meet Juici Patties. This company started as just a humble little roadside shop in Clarendon, Jamaica. And now they're expanding aggressively into the United States, taking on one of the toughest, most competitive fast food markets on the entire planet. And you know what? This is not an accident. The spread of these Jamaican brands is actually part of a very deliberate, very strategic push by companies that grew up on the island to become major global players. It really all boils down to mindset. I love this quote from Richard Pandohi. He's the CEO of a huge manufacturing company called CPROD. He says they had to believe they could compete globally, just like Jamaica's world-famous athletes and musicians do. They didn't just sit around and wait to feel ready, they went out and got ready along the way. And if you want proof, look no further than this number. CPROD invested over $13 million just to overhaul its facilities. And this wasn't some minor upgrade. It was a massive strategic move so they could meet the super high standards to become a manufacturer for Upfield, a global food giant. They really put their money where their mouth is. And then you've got another heavy hitter, GraceKennedy. They have been on this path for decades. Way back in 1995, they launched a formal plan to become a global consumer group. And now their big goal is to be earning 70% of their profits from outside of Jamaica by the year 2030. They're playing the long game. And listen, it's a trend happening all over. You have Daramon Trading buying grocery stores in New York. You've got Express Fitness acquiring a high-end Pilates chain in California. From retail to wellness, Jamaican businesses are making some really bold international moves. So let's bring it all back home. What's the real connection between the slang you hear on the streets of Toronto and the Jamaican patties you see on shelves in the US? They might seem like they're worlds apart, but they're actually two pieces of the exact same incredible story.
What we're really seeing here are two sides of the same very powerful coin. On one side, you have this informal, totally organic export of culture happening through language. And on the other, you have the formal, strategic export of that same culture through business. So here's the bottom line. Whether we're talking about the words people use every day or the products they're buying in a supermarket, both are these powerful expressions of a vibrant, influential Jamaican culture that is making its mark on the entire world. It's just a stunning example of how a small nation can have a truly massive global influence. And that leaves us with one last pretty big question to chew on. When you look at this model, this mix of organic cultural spread and strategic business expansion, what can we learn from Jamaica's playbook about what it really takes to become a cultural superpower today?